Why might having a YouTube channel for your podcast be a good idea? In this episode, I want to walk you through some of the benefits of having a YouTube channel as a podcaster and also a couple of things to help you get started. I'm Yesenia, your video podcast and marketing coach, and this is Focus and Bloom Podcast. One of my goals for having this podcast is to help you create intentional content for your video podcast, but also make sure that whatever it is that you're doing is bringing you joy, because content creation can take lots of time and running a business can take lots of time. And you want to make sure that you're doing it so that it continues to bring you joy, because that is going to show up whenever you are on front of that microphone, in front of that camera. And if you like the type of content where you get mindful content creation tips, be sure to click that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes, whether you're tuning in on your podcast platform or watching us on YouTube. Now, today in this episode, I want to walk you through some of those benefits of having a YouTube channel as a podcaster. And one of the things is that YouTube is the second largest search engine. So why not combine the power of YouTube and the power of a podcast? Because podcasting continues to grow in popularity. There's so many more podcasts coming out every day. So why not merge the two of them? Yes, I know that there's a lot more of a production involved when you have a video podcast. However, you want to consider the time and effort that you put into your content and how that is related to how it's bringing you more leads or more clients, or how it's helping you make more money, whether it is through services or memberships or anything like that. You want to know what role your content is playing in your business. Now, you've maybe already thought about creating a YouTube channel, whether it was for your podcast or for something else, whether you wanted to create intentional actual videos or you wanted to take audio from your podcast episodes, turn that into a video, and then upload that into YouTube. The thing is, regardless of that, you want to make sure that you know who your target audience is. So if you're starting out and you don't have a podcast and you want to start with a video podcast, you want to make sure that you know who your target audience is. Who are you speaking to and what problems are you helping solve? And if you already have a podcast and you're just moving it to YouTube, you want to make sure that the content that you're creating is still in alignment with your target audience, with the message that you want to convey, and make sure that you are helping solve those pinpoint problems. Now, once you've created the concept of your podcast and are clear on that target audience, you want to then create your channel. You can create your channel by giving it a name that is exactly the same as your podcast, or maybe you want to use your name or you want to use your business name. This decision will come entirely to you and will be based on how your brand is, what your brand is, whether it's a personal brand or the brand of your business. So think about this and then make that decision. But again, if you ever decide to change it in the future, you can definitely do that. Just, want to be very strategic about it. Once you have your podcast channel ready, all you need to do is create the content. And this will really vary based on what the intention behind the podcast is. Are you wanting to entertain, inspire, or educate? Are you using your podcast as a lead generating channel to bring more people to your business to learn more about your services, your products? You want to make sure that all of this is in alignment. The next thing that you want to think of is how you're going to market the podcast and how you're going to market your YouTube channel. If you're already a podcaster, you're probably already creating some sort of reels or carousels post that you share on social media, on Instagram or TikTok. You can do that and repurpose those into either YouTube Shorts or create static posts that you can post on the community tab on YouTube. This is actually one thing that not a lot of people know about. You can use the community tab to create posts, to create polls, and also create questions and build some engagement as you build that community on your YouTube channel. Obviously, this is like an overview of the production process of a video podcast. However, no matter what type of content you're creating, you want to always make sure that you follow your analytics. You check your analytics, check how your podcast is performing, because this will let you know what type of content is best resonating with your audience. If the podcast is too long or if it's not long enough, all of these little things are going to help you know how your podcast is performing. YouTube is keeping a very close eye on the podcasting industry and doing lots of updates to the platform and the user experience to attract podcasters to the platform. So it's no surprise that over the past years, they've been doing lots of things and probably more things to come to really make the podcasting experience, to make the podcasting consumption experience a lot better and more dynamic and more engaging, as well as easier for you to experience no matter where you're tuning in. Now, one thing that you might be asking yourself as you're thinking of moving your podcast to video or starting altogether in a video podcast format is what tools will you need to create a podcast? Well, whether you are recording a solo episode or you have a co-host who is in a different location or you have guests who are in different locations, you definitely want to have great audio and great video quality. And for this, I use a Riverside. Riverside is the platform that I use to record my podcast, not only because it gives me great audio or video quality, but because it gives me lots of other features and tools to help repurpose the content that I'm creating there and share it with you and my audience in the various podcast platforms or your blog or your website or your email. It is a wonderful tool. Visit today's show notes for a link to try Riverside and start creating your video podcast today. And another thing that I want you to think about, the fact that you are now creating a video podcast doesn't mean that you have to do every single episode in a video format. And this might sound very counterindicative from what I've just been saying. What I'm saying is you want to find ways that you can incorporate video into your content. And one last thing, you can start small. Start with what you've got. You don't need to have a fancy equipment, fancy gear. All you need is to have a microphone, obviously, because you need to record your voice, and a camera. And you can use the camera that comes with on your laptop, or you can use a webcam. You don't need much to start. And if you're still unsure of how the experience of creating video podcasts will be for you, so what you could do is create all the episodes of the month in audio format, but maybe have one special episode where you can add a video component to it. And this way you can have a sense of how the video podcasting production will look like for you. And later on, you can decide if you want to continue just having one episode a month where it's in video format, or maybe you want to add a second episode a month where it's also in video format. Video has a very long shelf life, and one way that you can incorporate that one video a month in your podcast content is maybe dedicating that episode to evergreen content. This way, that type of content is running and working there for you on the platform. You can also repurpose it in multiple ways for your social media, and not just the week of the podcast. You can repurpose it in many other times in different ways. On your podcast, on your social media, on your email list. If you don't have an email list, go ahead and start creating an email list on your blog. There's lots of ways to repurpose your content. And I don't get tired of saying this, but put your content to work for you, not the other way around. I hope you found this episode helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or tuning in on your favorite podcast platform, and go ahead and leave us a review because that helps us a lot to get this podcast discovered. Take care, and I'll see you on the next episode.